My 23 male. GF 22 female of 2 years has ceased all forms of physical contact since I told her I'm okay with her. She also lied to me. Should I break it up? When my girlfriend, 22 female, and I moved in together, she informed me, 23 male, that she isn't. Despite my objections, she assured me that she would continue to delight me and that she loves me as a person rather than my body. At first, I was self-conscious about my appearance because I believed I was ugly. However, the general consensus among close friends and analysts was that the relationship should be maintained since she was willing to make concessions, which I did. Whatever the case, a great deal has changed since then. I conducted research and sought to have a better understanding of in order to become more comfortable with the concept. She has, on the other hand, suddenly began to refuse all forms of personal touch, including hugs, hand-holding, and pretty much any other kind of physical contact. I believed she was behaving in this manner because she wanted some personal space, and I made no effort to make physical contact with her. God gave you hands, so you may help yourself, she adds whenever I try to initiate intercourse with her again after our previous encounter in April. I have a low libido and only feel the need to be active about every 10-15 days to put things in perspective. We sleep together in the same bed, but I'm not allowed to touch her. She just takes my hand away or makes some distance between us if I get close. However, the rest of our connection is strong and I adore her and hope she feels the same way about me. While we were out for a walk yesterday, I tried to take her hand in mine and she was clearly upset. Since then, I haven't spoken anything to her and haven't touched her hand. I'm quite depressed, and it's had a negative effect on my self-esteem significantly. I slept in the hall last night and awakened to a text from her best friend, 22F, who has known her since they were 7 years old, berating me for not accepting her for who she was and not appreciating her. I had slept in the hall the night before. Despite my best efforts, she seemed uninterested in my arguments, and I was forced to just agree with her. After more discussion, I learned that she had been aware of her since she was 15 years old. I was impressed. This is where the betrayal begins. She informed me that she had only lately discovered her orientation. For the whole time, she'd been lying about herself, first about her attraction to me, and then about her orientation. I get the distinct sensation that I have been duped, and that she has betrayed me in some kind. If she had told me about her orientation before the date, I would have given it some consideration and come to terms with it, or maybe we would not have gone forward with the date, sparing us both a lot of heartache. Furthermore, she has failed to fulfill her promise to keep me satisfied. I'm really considering having her move out, I own the house, and ending my relationship with her. But before I do anything, I want to be sure that what I'm experiencing is legitimate. Is it normal for me to be experiencing these feelings? Is there anything I should do if this is not the case? Is it possible to save this connection as well? Is there anything more frustrating than having to save? Update. She has returned to her hometown. Here in the U.S., it's approximately 9 p.m., and after she has calmed down, I'm going to inform her that we have to break up because I can't take it any longer, and that she needs to move out of the house. Story 2. I just discovered my wife, 29 female, cheated on me, 28 male, after a year of marriage. I don't know what to do. I discovered 2 days ago that my wife had been having an affair with another man for the preceding month. I'm in a state of shock. I addressed her immediately after the incident, and the two of us had had an incredibly draining few days of incessant debate. I'd appreciate it if you could give me some advice on what to do. I've been with her for 7.5 years, ever when we first met while attending college together. In common with many other young couples, we've had our ups and downs, a few breaks and breakups, passionate reconciliations, and apprehension about the future. However, I love her, and as a consequence of these experiences, I've come to the conclusion that I wouldn't want anything else in a relationship if it were possible. Moreover, 2 years ago, I relocated to the United States in order to pursue a job opportunity. As a result, we were separated at this time since she was compelled to stay in Europe for another 11 months for job reasons. It had been a difficult year. Because of the difficulties in communicating, there was a great deal of hatred, and we didn't see one another very much. I discovered that she had become friends with a guy, a relationship that I was really skeptical about since she had sought to keep her interactions with him very secret, and had lied to me on multiple occasions about not seeing him. I was right to be skeptical. However, I chose to disregard it since I was well aware that we were in a bad predicament. She relocated to the United States last year, and we've had a wonderful time getting to know one another. In fact, I feel the previous 6 months have been the happiest time we've ever had as a couple. Since arriving in the United States, she has managed to develop a lot of American acquaintances, which I'm quite grateful for. Despite the fact that I didn't know them very well, I've been fairly busy with business and also wanted her to create her own network. I didn't mind. She even became friends with a few of men she met on her own a couple of occasions and got close with over the course of the year. Being the jealous spouse type is something I abhor. Therefore, I'd buried any tiny feelings of jealousy and focused on putting my faith in her. After all, we were both extremely content in our relationship. My wife couldn't stop gushing about how happy she was with our marriage and life. And I had enough faith in humanity to think that a man and a woman could be platonic friends without having any interest for one another. It seems that I was a bit too optimistic on this front. My wife was becoming too possessive of her cell phone in particular, which I felt was a little out of character given her personality. After enjoying a fantastic Christmas vacation with friends and family, I decided to check her messages on the first of the year, which I did on January 1. I received a message from her on December 31 that she had not responded to. I hadn't paid much attention to it until lately, although her possessiveness struck me as weird at the moment I first saw it. I received a great quantity of contacts from an unknown source, which I investigated further. A large number of them had a bent to their personalities. In response to my questions, she revealed that they had kissed on a night out 4 weeks before and that she had visited his house 2 weeks prior to my interrogation. The only thing they didn't do was penetrative intercourse, which was unusual for them. Nothing seems to make sense to me at the moment. For me, these last 3 days have been the most taxing I've ever gone through, and I've been feeling physically and emotionally unwell the whole time as I try to make sense of what has happened. Her deception progressed to the point where she would send him text messages at midnight on New Year's Eve while I was at her side, or from her bed after we had just had, all in an attempt to trick him into thinking we were still together. If you have a drunken kiss with someone, it's one thing. Having a connection with the same person is quite another thing entirely. This, she claims, is not a relationship problem, but rather stems from deep-seated issues pertaining to her desire for validation from others. She wants to seek counseling to address these issues, which she believes is a good idea. One of the things I like about her is her will to make changes and salvage our marriage, which is something I admire in her. For the reasons that I believe she is remorseful, for the reason that I was serious about our vows, and for the reason that I know she feels terrible about what she did. I believe she is remorseful. On the other hand, I don't want to spend the rest of my life worrying about whether or not she would try to do it again if I hadn't caught her in the first place. It was impossible for me to wait another 10 years, when the stakes would be far greater, and I'm still blaming myself for having put my faith in someone who should have known better in the first place. My dilemma is that I'm not sure whether I should hold out hope for change, if I should continue to work on the relationship, or if I will ever be able to entirely trust her once again. I'm not even sure I'll be able to get the images of her cheating out of my brain for a long time after this incident occurred. I feel we are both over heels in love with one another, and I am terrified of the prospect of abandoning not just my wife, but also my closest friend as a consequence.